but it does involve murder. So stick around. I think I just scared her to death. I was traveling for work back east. I'll spare you the gory details, but the return flight from the Washington, D.C., the Dulles International Airport to LA took almost 24 hours. It was the most nightmarish single day of travel of my life. Flying from Dulles International via Dallas, couldn't land in Dallas because of the weather, circled around Dallas until we were low on fuel and had to land in Austin, sat on the tarmac in Austin for 4.5 hours waiting for the weather to clear up or for a gate to open, neither of which happened. Eventually the weather got better in Dallas. Flew to Dallas, sat there until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning because the last flight was delayed. I mean, they did add an extra flight, which there wasn't supposed to be, which got us back. Now, mind you, I wasn't supposed to fly into LAX. I was supposed to fly into Orange County. Got into LAX at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm on East Coast time, so that's 6 o'clock in the morning. Had to take an Uber home, didn't get home in bed until a little after 4 a.m. West Coast time, which to me was 7 in the morning. I was up for a day. It was awful. I had to buy something to get change. Pain in the ass. This guy in the van right here bought a single serving of wine and like a Hot Pocket. Breakfast of champions. Anyway, enough about my travel woes. That's not what I wanted to talk about today. It's been quite some time since I've done CNCycle stories. Yeah, this tale actually involves someone getting killed. So hopefully that entices you to stick around to the end. When I was in, I think I was in about junior high. So for those of you that don't know, about the age of 13 or 14-ish, living with my parents still, obviously. They chose to have an addition go on to the house that we were living in. It was a pretty big undertaking. And across the street from us was a guy named by the name of Larry Burgoon. This guy. At the time, I think he was in his early 30s, and he was living with a woman there who was quite a bit older than him. I think she was 50-ish, early 50s or late 40s, quite a bit older than him. It was her house. I remember she had a pretty cool old Porsche 911 that was in pretty good shape. So perhaps there was a bit of sugar mama stuff going on there. I don't know. Anyway, Larry was a pretty nice guy. Wasn't really a friend of the family, but an acquaintance. He would occasionally let my friends and I come over there and hang out in his pool. I think we brought a couple of chicks over there once in the pool. So he was kind of helping out on that front. But he also happened to be a general contractor. Kind of made sense to hire him for the job. Everything going smoothly. And then, all of a sudden, after a while, the construction started slowing down and not happening. Guys started not showing up. He started not showing up. And which actually, if any of you guys have ever been involved in construction work or dealt with construction workers, that's actually fairly common. They just won't work on your house for a couple of days. They just think it's okay to leave your house in a complete state of disarray. And no sweat, you can just live in these shambles and we'll come back when we feel like it. But these periods got more and more lengthy and extensive to the point where it was irritating. So what we learned was he and his girlfriend across the street split up. More specifically, she dumped him. They really screwed the guy up. Pretty bad, something pretty awful. So he stopped showing up, and anyway, that was it. He would ask to leave his truck at our driveway, which was normal. I mean, obviously that's fine. You're working on our house. Hey, speed triple. perfectly fine, but it would stay there for a couple of days with no sign of Larry around. Anyway, this kind of kept going on and on and on and on, and no progress in the house, to the point where it got irritating to my parents. I remember one morning waking up early, and my bedroom was at the front of the house, and you could oversee the street and the driveway. And his truck was parked in the street in front of my house, or my parents' house. And, ooh, that was close. And he was sitting in the back of the truck, just in the bed of the truck, arms crossed with his legs out, just staring at the house, at his former girlfriend's house. This is like 5 in the morning. Not working or anything, it's too early to work, but just sitting there staring at the house. Pretty creepy. So one day, I think my dad was just fed up and went over to their house to try to get an answer to see what was going on. So we went and knocked on the front door. No answer, nobody home, nobody around. And, you know, he was so pissed off this time, and we knew them well enough that he was okay with sort of walking around the side of the house to see what was going on, to see if somebody was there, especially since his truck was there. So he does. Ends up looking in the kitchen door on the side of the house, which is open, and there's Larry sprawled out on the floor. I can't remember if he was naked or was just in his underwear, but he was sprawled out on the floor, unconscious, with a bunch of pills around him, and there was like some shit and lipstick written up on the window or the mirrors or whatever. You know, crazy stalker, I can't live without you type stuff. So it was pretty immediately apparent that the dude was trying to off himself. I'll leave you on that cliffhanger as I go into the story here. I'll be back.
A few moments later.
You drove me to this, you made me do this. You're to blame for this, this will be on your head. Probably things to that effect written on the wall. Called the ambulance, called the cops, they all came. They were able to revive him. At this point we obviously realized that they had split up and Larry has gone off his rocker a little bit. So don't really know what happened to him then. I'm assuming he was admitted to the hospital, flushed out whatever it was he took. And then I'm assuming after that was admitted into the psych ward to be evaluated. People are fascinated by the camera. So I'm sure at this point restraining orders and all those things came into play, and police reports and all that good stuff. Eventually Larry was released, deemed safe to himself and to the public. Not really sure the time frame on that, but he was released. Some time goes by. Larry's sort of out of the picture. And then one fateful night, there was a bar in Anaheim Hills in Orange County, which has been since closed. It was, by the way, one of the best cougar bars around. Another side story. And anyway, Larry's ex-girlfriend is in there having a drink and something to eat with a girlfriend of hers, having a good time. Larry walks into it, pulls out a revolver, blows her brains out, then turns the gun on himself and shoots himself twice in the head. And fails a second time to commit suicide. He lives. She dies, he lives. I mean, this guy can't kill himself. Well, this time he goes to prison. I think they tried to plead insanity. I read a little bit about the case. Judge was not buying that. He went to prison. Yeah. So, that's that. The work gets done in our house. Years go by. Years and years and years go by. Guy's gone. Sad story. Really sad. I mean, we were friends with the lady too. We felt for her. Her daughter ended up inheriting the house across the street, and she has since sold it. Fast forward, guy gets released from prison, I'm assuming on good behavior or something. I don't know how long he was in, but not long enough. So he gets released. I can't remember if we heard about this or when I heard about it, but one night I'm sitting there and I'm rehashing the story, just like I told you guys, with a couple of my friends, and I ended up looking him up on Google on my phone. This was recently too. I think this was just last winter. And I find something on him. I found a couple reports about the murder, but I find him on a news report, which I'll insert right here.
A man in Orange, California is now grieving after his stolen car was recovered with his dead dog inside. At about 4:50 a.m. on March 26th, Larry Burgoon's black Honda Civic was stolen from a local gas station. Burgoon had left the doors unlocked and the keys inside while he made a quick trip in the station. The dog named Miles had been left in the back seat. When he returned a few minutes later, the vehicle was gone and Miles was nowhere in sight. For 2 full weeks, Burgoon scoured local neighborhoods for any sign of Miles. Then came the call from police. Officers informed him the car had been found in a business complex. Miles was left inside the vehicle and sadly had died. It is not yet known how long the car had been at the complex or the cause of Miles' death. Lieutenant Fred Lopez said the Civic is currently being processed for evidence and hopes any left behind DNA will lead to the arrest of the suspects. From the start, Burgoon could have cared less about the car. He only wanted his beloved pet back. Now, the only bright side for Burgoon is that he has closure.
Completely unrelated to the murders. Obviously, the news didn't do their research on this guy. Somebody comes to his car, he's got a dog in the back seat, and someone kidnapped the dog. And he's on the news giving this sob story about the dog was his best friend, and he can't believe he did this. Oh, he's so sad because he missed his dog. Oh. On the news, this guy made the news. Incredible. And they don't reference in the article at all about him being a murderer. It's about the sob story about him missing his dog. Crazy. Can you guys top that? Oh, the guy has a fiance, or in 2014 has a fiance. I assume that she is now his wife, or she's dead.